Excuse me.
Welcome, Andrew, for round 3. Yeah, buddy. All right, man. How does it feel to be in the podcast
what was
back
round
to back?
2?
Round 2 was shit talking, bullshitting.
How did we do?
I think we did pretty good.
Yeah?
I had a lot of fun last night, particularly.
We almost lost it there.
We almost did. Yeah, so for folks that don't know, we lost 2 of the cameras. One I took down purposefully because I used it as an iPhone, and I used it to read my notes, and I was too lazy to go put it back. And then one camera overheated, and then because of that, we were down to 1 camera. So on that podcast, you'll see my beautiful face the whole time. And then the other thing was we almost lost audio because the memory stick SD card was running out of space.
So what's going to stop the overheating today?
So I adjusted
your shoulders right in line with the camera?
Is it like this?
Yeah. Yeah, when you sit like that.
Okay, so I can come over a little bit. Yeah.
But now I got it. Yeah, you're still sitting there.
Yeah. So what I did there is I reduced the recording resolution. So these cameras are actually just normal cameras. They're not video recording cameras. So they overheat. If I set the high definition, like 4K, these were recording in 4K. I turn them 1080p. Now they won't overheat.
Is that a Rebel? Well, it's not a Rebel.
A Canon.
Yeah, Canon. There's
EOS.
a Rebel.
No.
T5.
I actually don't like these cameras. For folks listening, I would not buy a Canon EOS 5 or EOS for podcast. Don't buy. I'm thinking I really like the iPhone.
Dude, phones these days are good for so many things. That camera, this camera, you could easily film.
I know. Like
4K, 8K.
I don't think it's worth it. I think that's an easier setup, to be honest. Like
I agree.
I can get a smaller wire, I can get a better stand, and that'll just be easier.
What's that thing stuck to the back of it?
A charger.
Oh, gotcha.
I thought that this thing would charge if I plug in the charger into the port. I thought it would charge, but it doesn't. So.
Oh, so you have to use wireless because the other one's HD.
That's HDMI directly into the recorder there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sick.
All right, my friend. So 2 podcasts ago, your first podcast, we left off with we were talking about your kind of story, and we left off on you were kind of piecing back together your life.
Yeah. Well, we covered a lot of things on that one, and I mean, because it started with all the things that went wrong in my early 20s and how that snowballed into my 30s.
And so I think today you kind of want to talk a little bit about how you moved on from that, like your next steps, like your decisions in life, growing as a person, becoming a better man, all that stuff.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend today, and she was kind of pointing out about, like, when you listen to some people speak, a lot of them always just like make things about themselves, about like their stories and stuff. And then you sometimes have people that are just kind of always interested in like development and growth and reflecting on things that, they've done wrong or areas of life that they could have used to leverage and improve their own behaviors in some way or another. And I was looking at the different like kind of topics that you broke everything down in on the YouTube channel for, and yeah, you separated it pretty nicely. There were some things that were important in my life back then, post incarceration, and have carried on till even after parole. Because like when I think of incarceration, I think of from the day I went in to the day I finished parole. Because there's no freedom in between, even though
even though you're on the outside, you're still under the control. Like
yeah, you're free, but you're not really free.
You slip up one little tiny thing.
Yeah.
You forget a phone call, and the police are showing up, right?
Yeah, and then basically when they show up, if you have no record or anything like that, of course, any other person, any other Canadian citizen, they're gonna flex on that cop, letting the cop know that they are violating their human rights. They are not doing their procedures properly because a lot of authorities do that, right?
Sure.
But when you're on parole, you don't have that power.
No,
The first thing you have to do is you have to show your parole card. Or you have to let them know that you're on parole
so
right away.
you have an actual card,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a prison. Like, do you have a prison card?
Yeah. FPS 70. My FPS number was 7065808E. Yeah. Strange how these things just stay.
FS is for
FPS, I think it stands for
FPS, Federal Prison System.
federal. Yeah, it's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not. I didn't have to remember. Yeah, 7560808E.
And then did you have to carry that in prison, or
You can't be caught without it.
you can't be caught without
Yeah,
it?
you always have to have it on you. They say, even when
Really?
inside and outside.
What if someone like steals it, like you're jumped?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Why would they steal it?
I don't know, like because they're trying to get in trouble, or I don't know, like.
They probably want to get you in trouble for a lot more worse things than that, like planting things in your cell.
Well, yeah, I
And then
see.
people do that. They'll plant things in your cell and they'll put in a kite to the cops saying that you've got drugs or a weapon or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they do it because they think that they're going to getting like good credit with the feds and like the coppers in jail. Let's call them that.
Coppers.
Yeah, the coppers. And then they think that they're like, and then people do it for dumb shit too. Like I've heard stories of people just giving range cops like information on people just to get like an extra pillow or like, I don't know.
Range cops. These are
Like.
Oh, the range is like the cell block you're
Range
kind
cell
of.
blocks, yeah. But what do
Okay.
they? I can't remember what they call. So my friend, she works for the provincial system, but she. I don't know what their titles are. Like,
I have a question. I'm gonna you talk provincial. Is it better being a provincial prison or federal? Or like, what's the difference? Like
provincial is crimes.
state or the
So you go to provincial when you're
Yeah.
awaiting trial,
okay,
or if you've convicted a crime where your sentence is a day less than 2 years.
a day less than 2 years.
But if you have a crime that's over 2 years, then you go to the federal system.
Interesting. This is different than the states.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because in the states, it's like you go to county or something, right?
In the state, so the county system, I'm not real sure, but there's state prisons, there's federal prisons. So if you're convicted of a state crime, you go to state prison.
Right.
If you're convicted of a federal crime, you
Which
go
is
to
a felony, right?
Yeah, a felony is, if you, I'm so bad at this, I really don't but because murder is a felony, right? But like, I think murder is a capital crime, it's a federal crime. I don't know, but there's state prisons and then there's federal prisons, and like I don't know what for instance if you're caught, if it's an FBI investigation, right? It's federal. If you commit a crime where you cross states,
that becomes federal.
it becomes a federal offense, right?
But if you've committed like an act of violence where someone dies, it's like that's a capital offense.
Okay, yeah,
It's from what I understand.
capital. Okay, so I don't know so much, but there's different segments, and and the states, the prisons each they vary a lot by state and region, right? Like some people you don't want to go to that prison, or
Yeah, because there's there's what is it there's sheriffs for certain counties or
sheriffs, yeah,
right. In Canada, the sheriffs are the ones who actually just transport people from prison to court. Whereas in the States, sheriffs are they're actually high ranking. They're are the equivalent of U.S. Marshals or something.
On this, there's, because every state's different, right? So you have a state sheriff and you have a county sheriff.
Yeah.
But then I think in some jurisdictions they won't call it the sheriff. So for instance, in Cincinnati, we would have the Cincinnati chief of police. He was the top dog for the Cincinnati police, but we didn't really have but we had a state sheriff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's very you have in the States, you have so many different types of police.
Right.
You have U.S. Marshals.
That's the big problem in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pissing contest for all of them too. Because whenever there's a crime that happens, it's depending on what it is. If it has different jurisdictions, just depending on the offense, they all show up, and then it's a dick measuring contest for, like we see in the movies. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be lead on this case. And then FBI is like, no, I'm going to take lead on this case. And it's just, yeah. I don't know what that's like up here when it comes to arriving on the scene. RCMP is basically Canada's version of the FBI in the States, which is funny because they dress completely opposite.
It's fun. And they're on horses a lot, so, like on the border.
I mean, well, no, actually, even there's I saw a video of a state trooper on a horse, and someone's dog got loose, and the dog started chasing around the horse. Yeah. And the cop pulled out its baton and started clocking this dog. And I remember reading the comments, and I can still hear like the echo of like the cracking of like the baton of the dog, which is so painful to hear. And the comments from the people, they're saying like, so you're getting a lot of different perspectives here. So there's people saying dog shouldn't have been off his leash. Yeah. The cops' horses count as being cops. So it's assault on an officer if a dog goes and bites it. But
it's an animal.
It's an animal, and so is the horse. And what? The horse isn't... That horse, you can't have them show up in court and be able to testify. So how do they count as cops? They don't know what's right or wrong. And they're fucking vessels. They're transports.
One hoof print, dude. Like one kick from the horse, and that...
Yeah, so what's going to happen when the horse's hoof kicks the cops because they fired off their gun too close to the ear or something like that? Wow. What is that, cop on cop crime?
Cop on cop crime. Interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, so what was it you asked me? You asked me about, like since prison. Yeah, so after, like my parole ended in 2016, and I remember like it was yesterday because I taught it ended on my last day, which was like November 16th, 2016. And I remember teaching a yin class at Karma up on the top floor when we used to have our old studio. Mm-hmm. And I still have like the playlist. It was a special day for me. And then my partner at the time, she just showed up surprisingly and like brought all like my old classmates from teacher training. Mm-hmm. And then, the room was just filled with a bunch of people.
This was your last day of parole?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And,
were you teaching or taking a class?
Teaching.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so that was a special day. The day after that, that's when I was also like I said in the last podcast, and like life got real on the day I got released. But the day I was done parole was also life getting real because now I was free. Mm-hmm. But also between now and the next 3 years, I want to be traveling. I want to get my passport, apply for a pardon, all that kind of stuff. And, you just got to be on good behavior. So it's like everything just kind of continues,
You're not allowed to travel after early?
Yeah, I'm allowed to travel, but I got to get a passport. Mm-hmm. And so I got my passport, and I was still able to travel just a couple years later, but I had to be on good behavior.
And with, do they call it a felony conviction here when you
federal, like...
Or like, do they have felonies in Canada, or do they call it something different?
I think they call it a felony in Canada.
Yeah. But when you have a criminal record, is it based on the countries you're entering regulations on whether you can go there or not? Or...
Good question. So, yeah, if I were to go to the States, I guess it would depend on where I enter from Canada. I've been told by not credible sources, like anybody that works at the border, but I've been told by friends that, like, the trick isn't getting into the States. It's getting back out. So if I didn't have a pardon and I just went to the border while I still had a record, they might let me in. But then coming back from the States, it's going to be much difficult. They could say no. Mm.
Which is crazy.
It's kind of weird. It's so weird.
No, it's crazy that as a citizen, they'd say you're not allowed to come back in.
And not just that, but like, there's so many other cooler places I'd rather go to than the States, first of all. But I do want to go to the States, but I'd be so worried down there if I didn't have a pardon and if I didn't have like all these verifications of like me being on good behavior since parole. I'd just be worried about the way that the police would like abuse somebody who was an ex-con down there, abused their power, and flexed it on them, right? I don't know state law like I do Canada, so
it varies dramatically from state to state.
yeah.
Although one thing I'm very, like, I'm prideful, like, in a good way about the states is the Bill of Rights, and that there's a lot of really good laws. Like what one law I really like from the states is you do not have to show identification unless you're suspected of a crime.
It's true. I think it's the same up here. They can't just ask you for ID.
Yeah, they can't just, unless you're within a certain miles of a border, then that's different. Like if you're in like 2 kilometers of a border, for instance, then they have a right to ask your identification.
Why? Is that because of like people that
crossing the border? Like it's for border police. Like because I think this case went to the Supreme Court, and it was like if you're close enough to the border, then there's a reasonable suspicion. Like, what'd you do at the border? Like, are you a citizen, kind of thing.
And cops would easily like lie by just saying things like, "Oh yeah, we've had a report of someone dressed in A, B, and C, and they resemble you. So can you show us your ID to show us that you're not that person?"
Yeah.
And then right away, people are gonna be like, "Yeah, I want to not be that. I want to show you I'm not that person that you're looking for."
Yeah.
So they do all these different things just to like flex their power on you and shit. And yeah. So when people pretty easily hand over their IDs here, knowing that cops can't ask you for them, just like. I was also told there's actually a student who took our training who used to be a cop, and he told me that cops can't just even run your plate for no reason. You have to break a law or have some kind of reasonable doubt or something like that. When I don't really know the case on that, because
I think you're thinking probable cause. Probable cause.
What did I say?
Reasonable doubt.
Yeah, probable cause. Yeah, PC.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to.
No, they're two different things. You're right.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, about 2 years ago. I remember I was driving down, I was leaving downtown and going, I came off Clark and turned on to, turned right down to that, the bottom of Clark, can't remember the street name. And I get terrified whenever, I don't even know for what reason, but I just get terrified whenever you see RCMP or cops turn their lights on behind me, or if they pull up like next to me and stuff. I just feel like anytime the eyes are from me, it's just like being profiled like right away, right? And then lo and behold, these cops they pull me over, and they actually happen to be like gang unit cops dressed in like all their gear and stuff. And I'm just like shitting myself. I'm just like, and I have no reason to be, but the last time I was pulled over by like gang unit cops, like they had their guns drawn and were pulling me out of a car.
I think it's reasonable. Like anytime you're pulled over by the police, I think it's reasonable for any citizen to be just nervous, right?
Yeah, especially when you haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah. Go on.
But yeah, I mean, it's ingrained a little different. Yeah, for regular citizens, for sure. I think for people that have had experience and poor experiences with the police, I think it rides a little differently, because there's a memory in your response system that starts to instantly go back into what happened before, and it did for me totally. I remember this is one of the times when I noticed when I literally just go into fawn mode.
What mode?
Fawn. So there's like fight, flight, and like fawn mode, where you just kind of go along with whatever they say, right? Because like I'm not gonna run, right? And yeah, so they pull me over, and all I want to know is like, why did you pull me over? Why did you pull me over? Why did you pull me over? Right? And the words like wouldn't even come out, and so they just asked for ID. They asked me what I'm doing now. I told them like everything, like work, volunteering, all that kind of shit. And then when they came back to the car, they're like, "Okay, you got quite a list." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like of your past crimes. And I'm like, "Yeah, but that was a long time ago." And then that's when they started to ask about like what's been going on since then. And they let me go. The dude gave me his card. He's like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm giving you my card now because you haven't been pulled over by a gang unit at all since you've gotten out. So this is our first time having an interaction with you, and we don't have anything like in our file that says you have done this, this, and this. Normally, if I was still on parole and they pulled me over, it would be a different situation. So they said, I'm going to put a note on here that, you know, we've made contact with you and that everything's fine.
And that you're a nice guy.
Yeah. And that I'm a nice guy. And so they gave me their card. If this ever happens again, just like show them the card or whatever. I don't really know what I did with it, but yeah. So I'm just like, I don't know why that stuff still bothers me or when it's going to go away. It's hard to say.
I think it's a normal, like experiencing something like that. That's just a normal, I'm assuming what you're saying is like your personal feelings like going away. Is that what you mean? Or do you mean getting stopped going away? Or
Going away where?
You said, I don't know when that's going to go away.
Yeah. I don't know when that fear is going to go away. Yeah.
I think it's normal. Like, I don't know. I've never been in that situation. But
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I know one thing that I'm guilty of, that knowing your rights. I think that's something that most people don't like. If you're ever gonna like, I'm a big fan of not challenging the police if you don't have to, right? You know, but like if it gets to a point, you know, you gotta be like, hey, you gotta know your rights.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't know your rights, then you don't know what you can or can't do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's important to have that, you know, gentle pushback, not aggressive, because they respond a different way when it gets aggressive.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess when people are like somewhat polite about it and they can really demonstrate that they know their stuff, and if there's cameras everywhere these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they probably proceed a little more cautiously, the cops do. And I think citizens should just like know a little bit more about what happens in these situations.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think that just in general, you should treat everyone with respect, right? Like if I get pulled over by a police, I'm always very respectful. Like always turn off the car, put my hands on the steering wheel, keep my hands on the steering wheel, and then like I remember once like my ID was in the back of the in my work bag in the back seat. And he's like, can I see your ID? I was like, yes. Can I go reach back in the back seat? You know, like I don't want to freak you out, but you know, like it's back there. And then he looks back there. Yeah, you can go reach back there. You know, but it's just talking to them, like, you know, no sudden movements.
Yeah, having to give it's crazy, like having to give the play-by-play though, being like, I'm gonna open my jacket now and I'm gonna reach inside.
Yes.
And inside is my wallet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, slowly, and then they go like that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just procedure for them, but everyone's so on edge in that in those like 1 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then like when you slowly pull out the wallet,
like,
everyone takes a fucking breath again. You're like,
yeah, okay.
But how many times has that gone wrong in the States before?
Of course.
Sorry, I shouldn't have just said States.
No, it's anywhere. But like that's why
there's more guns in the States.
Yeah. That's why I'm always like, I turn off the car, right? I do that so they know I'm not gonna run. You know, like it's just being as upfront. Like I'm trying to disarm them, right? Because there's good cops and bad cops, right? And I don't know which I'm gonna get, but I do know if you're respectful, that goes a long way on disarming somebody.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And you got that Southern charm, so they know that you're like not Canadian, so they're just like, all right.
That Southern charm. Yeah. Can you tell I'm not Canadian just by my voice? Like if you hear me talk, you're like, he's not Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what he is, but he's not Canadian.
What about like different regions? Like if you go out to like Toronto or Ottawa, something like this, do I sound more like come from over there, or is it still distinctly different?
I haven't been to Toronto or Ontario in a long time. When I think of different accents in Canada, I'm thinking Alberta, Manitoba, or Far East. So in between, you could probably get by.
I notice here it's like a nasally kind of accent sometimes.
What accent?
It's nasally. It comes from more of the nose, you know. No? No, it's just like in different regions, right? People talk from different parts of their like some people talk from the deep throat or from like the chest or from like the nose.
Where do I talk from?
You seem more like chest, like deep, like deeper throat. Like it's more a deep voice.
Hmm.
You know, me, I go on some of the range. So sometimes I go kind of high, like up here. Sometimes it's more low down here.
Depends who you're talking to, I guess.
But for you, it's down here.
Yeah. I'm working on getting it right here.
Right there.
Yeah.
You're actively working on this?
Yeah.
You're trying to change how you sound.
No, I'm trying to change like where it's coming from. Like here, I notice that sometimes when I speak, I just feel like tight. I feel clenched sometimes, depending on what I'm speaking about or speaking to. And then there's times where I'm just feeling super open, super fluid. And it just kind of comes from like here. Just ranges in between.
I've never noticed that on myself. I'll try to notice where I'm talking from.
Yeah, there's this cool dude I was talking to a couple weeks ago. I mean, he didn't touch on like the parts of it, but like he was just discuss it. He actually was really reaffirming because he was talking about a confidence in speaking course that he wrote, and he does this like in small groups and in larger groups. But yeah, by the end of it, he said that he's like, I don't really think you need this course. He's like, I think that you can speak confidently. You just have to like tap into like A, B, and C and figure it out.
I know one thing I can do better is enunciate.
Is what?
Enunciate better.
Give me an example.
I have a tendency to kind of slur my words sometimes or not enunciate each syllable of the word. You know, like I don't know, just in general, you know, like I'll say like blind or something like this instead of blind, you know, like blind versus just blind, you know, like I notice that sometimes when I listen to myself on the podcast, I don't enunciate, I don't slow the speech down enough to enunciate.
I do that too. Sometimes I'll take like two words that I say and I'll take the second half of the second word and put it on the second half of the first word and like alternate like that. And if I'm just like trying to like spit something out quickly, it's really weird. It only happens with like certain words.
I also know, I've been told by immigrants that they like talking to me.
Why?
Because I'm a slow talker and they can understand what I say.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a processing thing, I think, right?
Yeah. I guess from my area, we just talk a little slower.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it difficult to process people that speak too fast. Yeah.
Like who's that one? He's on the Republican side. He speaks super. He's really intelligent, but he speaks super fast the whole time. You know, like this.
I hate that.
Yeah.
What's the rush?
Some people just have so much going on in their mind that they want to like.
Yeah, okay, so I get it. Speaking of things of passion, that you're really, you know, the energy, you can notice the energy level change in someone when they get excited about something, and then it just starts coming out faster than their thoughts are even processing.
Yes. I'm thinking of Ben Shapiro. Have you ever heard him talk?
Yeah, you just do commercials, right?
No, he's
A lawyer?
like he's a Republican. I'm not sure where he's from, but he's a conservative politician.
Every time you use these words, liberal, Republican, conservative, left ring.
Yeah.
See, I just did it. Left ring.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Left ring, white ring.
Exactly. I do the same shit.
Yeah, it all goes out the window to me because I don't know. I don't know the differences between all of them.
I don't know all the differences either. There, I kind of did that again, right? Like, you see?
Yeah.
But let's get back to where we were headed down. So you were the feeling of getting out of prison, yoga, karma teachers, that it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, because so once parole ended, the restaurant had already closed. That it closed in the summer summer of 2016, and then by January 2017, I started working part-time at Karma as the it was I can't remember the role that he created for me. Emerson made this like a part-time role for me, and then it required me to be in the office a little bit more. So I was in the office, so I was starting to learn the operations, starting to see teacher trainings happening, talking with teachers and stuff. And because of what had gone on with the previous owner of the restaurant and all the things that he did, my brain was already in like red alert mode, audit mode, looking for things that weren't adding up. And there were some things that weren't adding up, like when teachers were saying that like they weren't being paid, and bills that weren't being paid, or a teacher not showing up for shifts and stuff like that. So I started like my detective hat started going on, right? And can't ignore these things. And so started piecing things all together, and then started to find out that like the founder of the organization wasn't even on the board of directors. He had no agreement, or he had no employee agreement, or wasn't legally entitled to be managing money or running operations, collecting money, or anything like that. And that's a big red flag. So I did my research and I find out that, and again, this is stuff that I just learned through the hardship of before, and stuff that like my mentor had taught me. So I just do my searching, right? My investigating and stuff, and then find out that the 3 people that like are on the board were 3 people that aren't even involved in the organization, which is like, okay. So I mean, like, okay, maybe there's not that big of a deal about that. Like, who knows? Maybe these 3 people are like investors, or like, let's not get too crazy about it. But one of the names that I recognized on there was one of my old teachers, and I know that he had resigned like 6 months before. And so I went up to him and I'm like, dude, do you know that you're still registered as the director of the organization? And he's like, I handed in my resignation letter 6 months ago. And I'm like, I know you did it, but it doesn't mean that you were taken off of like the listing that the government recognizes you as a director.
I have a theory on why they would want to do that.
Why? Who would want to do what?
Why they wouldn't want to remove him from the board of directors.
Why?
Because that's one vote they own. Meaning, like they can say, we had a board meeting, if there's 5 votes, one guy doesn't show up, we have 4, it's one vote they can control.
That's, yeah, I mean, in organizations, that is like one tactic that people would use. In this particular situation, it was because you need a minimum of 3 on a nonprofit board. And but so what Emerson was doing was he was making a lot of decisions without even going to the board, right? He was just and I'm not saying, like, I made decisions in the organization that I didn't go to my 2 other directors and ask for permission on. I was making decisions in the organization that I thought were right, were for the good direction of the organization. And I mean, under my leadership at the time, we did pretty well for an organization that was almost about ready to have its doors closed because having to kick Emerson out. Yeah. Starting off with a bankroll, our first business bank account of like $6,000, and 2 weeks later our rent is like $7,500, and not really sure where our income is coming from. So I didn't really know how we were going to start paying our bills, but I knew like what had to be done, right? So we started organizing when the next teacher trainings are going to be. There's no reports on like income that's kind of come in. So I've had to go through all of his old emails, add up all like the tuition that like he's ever collected over the last like 4 or 5 years, and see that hasn't gone to like the organization. So that was a big reason why he had to go.
That does not sound like fun.
No, it wasn't. It was a super stressful time. A lot of pressure. But you know what? In cases like this, I was really trying to merge like the ethics that I'd learned in the business before that, and also trying to stay true to like ethics that were important to me, and important to just a spiritual, community, right? And being able to merge these. And I wasn't an expert at these things. I was kind of figuring out as I go along, and that's probably why I made so many mistakes. But by some stroke of luck, there was this film crew who wanted to rent out the studio space for one day, and they were going to pay us like $3,500. They were going to pay a liaison fee of like $40 an hour. And they needed someone there for like 16 hours. And I was like, okay, great. So me and one of the directors, we split the liaison fee, and we both spent time there helping them out. And then half of that rent was great because we covered our rent for July. And then we're like, okay, let's move into August. How are we going to get August going? And then, excuse me. And then, we were starting to set dates for teacher training September. And yeah, so from July, we're having a bank balance of like $6,000. Every month after that, the next 2 months, our rent is $7,500. We got rid of the top floor, so by September, October, November, December, we're just operating on the bottom floor and the mezzanine, which is $6,000 rent. But from July till the end of December, our revenue went just over $115,000. So I felt pretty proud to be able to bring that in.
115,000.
Yeah, and that was based off of we had public classes. This is when we found out a lot of people were just coming in, taking free yoga, but we still were selling some passes. But I wasn't enthusiastic about pushing passes because we were also having to cancel a lot of classes and find subs and stuff. So you can't sell passes if you don't have a strong schedule, right?
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm trying to just like stay close to like my roots of like just trusting the process. Like it's all going to work out. But I know that back then I was waking up in like this panic mode as well. Waking up in the middle of the night as well, just thinking, my head's just always going into future, right? It's difficult to remain present. So yeah, like my nervous system was pretty uncalibrated. What was really bringing me peace and space was, going into teacher training and seeing the impact that the students were having from being in community, being able to learn from excellent faculty that we had at the time. And that's that journey where like a group of people are all kind of gathering together to learn the same thing and point towards the same thing and do it all together. And so, by being able to sit in on those sessions, that's a huge gift to me because not a lot of people get to do that. And so that was like a really good part of the job, being able to learn that way. But that was kind of what kept me like kind of grounded and centered and being like, okay, yeah, so this is like what's really important to me and why I'm trying so hard and really white knuckling it through it. Public classes were also really important to be having for people, but that's not the revenue that's going to be paying the rent. Our revenue from past sales and public classes, they weren't able to cover our rent until maybe late 2018, early 2019. Up until then, it always had to be teacher training being budgeted to cover our rent.
I think that makes sense in the yoga model. Like, I would assume that teacher trainings in general are just much more profitable than individual class, like public classes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're two separate revenue streams. One is high selling ticket. One's like just a low selling ticket, right?
Yeah.
Like class passes and punch passes are a couple $100 or like $50 to $100 for depending on where you get them. Teacher trainings are at least a couple $1,000s, but you have a lot more expenses with teacher trainings.
The instructor in itself is more expensive too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get paid a good hourly fee, and that goes towards like yoga teachers that are lead instructors. They've had years of attending different trainings, hundreds and hundreds of hours teaching public classes to students and privates and putting together their own workshops. And each of the workshops that they run are adding and adding and adding to their ability to be able to step foot into a 200-hour and then be able to learn how to welcome 8 to 16 strangers, gauging where they're at, what they're all going towards. It's not just like a typical like academic program.
No, and that from a teacher training class, that has to be a job in itself, right? Is you get these people and you're bringing them together and you're like, okay, what's the mood of this class? Where are we going, right? Like, what's the style of teaching that you're, right? Like, if you have a bunch of young people who are just like, hey,
Not
like,
even just young.
yeah, but but I mean like just people who are like very focused in like the asana style of the practice or like movement and posture focused, versus people who come in and who are just like, all I want to learn is the history and like the meditation part and what would you philosophy part of yoga?
Well, this last teacher training that we did, I noticed that in this one, there was a lot of students that were really interested in the yoga philosophy and bringing it into their lives. And I was just like, wow, like this is a huge refresher. I was like, I feel really lucky to be able to be a part of that, because a lot of teacher trainings, people do just come in. They're like, we want to know the poses, we want to get the inversions, we want to be able to teach asana and lead a vinyasa class or something, right? We want to be able to do all the fancy stuff, right? And what we were trying to help people understand is that, all of yoga is like off the mat. You know, there's just so much of it that doesn't have to do with being on a mat, doing a 60-minute class, 75-minute class. Because what's happening when you leave that class?
Yeah. Not much.
Well,
like for a lot of people, that's what I mean. Like and even for me, like it's a side of the practice I haven't really gotten into so much.
Yeah, because it's I mean, it's not something that's like easily available. Well, it is easily available, but it's not really recognized that much.
It's not emphasized.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not emphasized because like what happens like when we leave classes? Okay, so we go back out onto the street. We hear a lot of honking. We hear a lot of stimuli out there. We get onto our phones. So there's like this instant activation back into like stimulus, and like the dopamine starts going. And everything that we've just done in that last 60 minutes, we've kind of just started to slowly undo on our drive home or on our walk home, right? And that's what made like our studio downtown like so separate from other studios. It was because that mezzanine in the middle, like people after class, they would hang out, they'd have tea, they'd just like be able to just kind of chill out and digest. And, you know, if they came to do a class and they went deep in it, that decompressing time is going to be pretty important. Otherwise, they're just kind of like putting a temporary band-aid on like a wound and not really being able to like to ground out before they leave. So it's really, I feel like super shitty about how that space kind of fell apart. And, you know, like it was so difficult to take accountability for losing that community.
During COVID?
During COVID, yeah. It was, I mean, of all the things going on in the world, the timing that it happened was just so bizarre. Not just for everybody, but like even for what it was for everybody. But, you know, I was also feeling it too. And it's like, yeah, you know, I wasn't the best leader. I knew the things that I was good at, and I knew what I could do and why I was doing it. But yeah, I wasn't the greatest at it, and I didn't have like the experience that it took for somebody to be running a successful organization, you know, having codes of conduct and policies and procedures in place, making sure waivers are always signed and not allowing anybody into a class without a waiver signed. Like, I wasn't enthusiastic about that stuff. Like I always felt like I had just other things that was more interested in making work, like making sure that we always had 3 months buffer of income to
pay rent.
Not just that, because what happens if one teacher training doesn't run? Well, we're screwed then. We don't have that. We don't have the buffer paying the rent, right? So I think it was the financial responsibility that weighed a lot on me, and I'm not saying that that's an excuse, because that's just my responsibility. I think what I should have been doing more was really distancing myself from the place a lot more and using my time away to be taking care of myself more and having more of a better self-care regimen.
Distancing yourself from what place?
From not having to be at the studio 6 days a week, 7 days a week.
You mean, yeah, you can do it all, bro. Like, yeah.
Position. I like that.
Yeah, I was just moving. Like, if you want, you can.
No, that's good.
Extend it out. Yeah, like that. Yeah, yeah, man. So you're saying, that you were at the studio so often
Yeah.
that wasn't good.
No, it wasn't good. And I mean, it was good in the sense because I was so hungry to know how things are going. How are people enjoying the classes? Are we seeing regular people coming back? Are we seeing people, donating more? Or are they just walking past the donation bin? How many people are taking free classes? These are all important things and important metrics to be gathering. Like, we had no data to be going on before we came in there. So I knew that if we have any chance of success of moving forward, maybe for anything for reporting our income, having some metrics to use in advertising, or for grants, just to measure like our impact. These are the things that we got to know. Okay. So I had to learn how to do that. I had to ask for support from people in the community to help me learn how to do it and how to apply some of the things to our operations so that we could be measuring this stuff. So that was part of the reason what like really made me feel like I needed to be there a lot. I was also really worried about like safety of people there because of the neighborhood that we're in. There's always, based on our mission statement, we want the organization to have like this open door policy where anybody is allowed in, right? Because we want yoga to be available for everybody, right? And so what does that mean? So does that mean that we keep the front door open all the time when people, so that people can come? Do we lock it right on time when the class starts? And does that mean that the person who shows up late, we say that you're not allowed in because you're late, class has already started?
You don't want that either.
Are we not also supposed to be exercising compassion towards somebody that missed the bus or did their very best to get there, and it's like out of their circumstances why they can't get there? And where are we supposed to be the hard people that say, hey, we have simple rules, you got to follow them, kind of thing? These are really hard things to navigate around when having kind of, if we want to have like shared responsibility of how the organization is going to operate.
Having staff helps with that too, right? Like, who can monitor like the door, housekeeping stuff.
Yeah, so we tried to like just come up with a rule that like, it depends if a class is happening in the back studio, then the front could stay unlocked. People could kind of come and go. And if there's only one person at the front desk, then we would kind of lock it for their safety. And we tried to have like a general agreement around how it was going to work, right? But these things were always changing because we were really open to, new people bringing new suggestions and positive potential ideas and solutions to the table. And so, yeah, I mean, we went through a long time of like trying out new things and seeing what worked and what didn't work. But, I mean, I guess just based on how many people, well, on the progression that we saw, people kind of coming to the studio and being able to eventually grow enough revenue, I guess it was working. I guess people were really finding that this was a space that they wanted to keep coming to and being a part of. So that wasn't like me. It wasn't just my ideas. These were ideas that came from people that were like in the community that were helping out with like volunteer orientation or being at that front desk. And a lot of these people weren't even paid. A lot of these people were, they were given like scholarships on their tuition. So they had like some volunteering hours to do. And there were definitely a handful of people that didn't know us anything and just wanted to be there out of the goodness of their heart, just wanted to be of service. And yeah, so it was, yeah, I mean, it wasn't the immediate feeling that I had that this community's falling apart. Like the detriment and the weight of that didn't start to sink in until after my like defensiveness and like ego started to like get out of the way, because being asked to like step down from a position that like I'd worked so hard to stay in does hurt, I had to face it, right? But then there's a long period where I was just like so defensive, but like also in a place of being like silence and not feeling like I had the space to actually do some of the growing that I needed to do for the reasons that I was being asked to step down for. And around September 2020, I had a pretty good opportunity. So there's this place on Bowen Island. It's called, at the time, it was called the New Earth Institute, and it was ran by this Dr. Shahar Rabbi. He's a therapist. He's worked at UBC. He's done like trainings with meditation teachers, yoga teacher trainings. He's just really, he's done the merging of, psychology, therapy, counseling, and, holistic healing and yoga and all that. And he's like in the middle of that. So I got the opportunity to go and I found them on, I think it was Yoga Trade or something like that. And you go there, you stay, and you do some volunteering. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm at a place right now where I'm not wanted in the organization, or I'm not needed in the organization, and I need some space from that and starting to heal. So I'm like, this is great. So, okay, so I can go to this place. I can be a volunteer. I don't have to be a leader. I don't have to have that responsibility. Plus, I have a good person to be looking up to and learning from, who has the experience that it would take to be in the position that I was in. So I can learn from somebody there as well. That was a great experience. I mean, got to go there, and there's these 5 other volunteers that were all from the UK, which is pretty cool, all super friendly. And I was also getting to be around people that, that didn't know me and didn't know like the shit that I'd been going through, and didn't know that how I was feeling in a certain way. So I kind of felt like I had like this a little bit of like a fresh start with like some new people.
Sure.
And I got a chance to just kind of like, tiptoe into just like, being myself and getting comfortable and heal a little bit. The challenging part was that we had shared rooms. So I had to share a room with another dude, and I'm like, man, I haven't shared a room with anybody since prison. And it took me back into some discomfort for a little bit, but
did you keep some shanks on hand?
Yeah, I kept a couple bars of soap in the pillowcase and kept it wound up. No, like I had a great roommate. He's super cool. Yeah. But you know what? Well, I think what made that part of my journey, what I got the most out of it is that I only had to be there for about like 4 days out of the week. So when I didn't have any responsibilities there, I was able to go back home, decompress, see what was going on with anything that I had to do with like karma teachers at the time, and really just have some time for myself, and hanging with friends that knew me. So yeah, I was lucky to be doing that from like September up until like January 2021. So yeah, that part was enjoyable.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a quick break. I just want to get some water, and then we'll go from there.
Cool.
I'm sorry to break you mid. Yeah,
No, that's cool.
I'm thirsty.
I'm gonna stretch my legs.
Far nude. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. La 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 la, where the treetops glisten. What? Do you know the words to Danny Boy? Danny? No, I don't know the words. I know Amazing Grace. I know what other like Christmassy songs I know. That's not Christmassy though, but yeah. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Come, young virgin, tender and mild. I think I got that wrong. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Man, I haven't heard that.
I feel bad for. I'm doing this for Nude because he has to listen to this shit, man. He's like, what? He has to listen to me be a freaking moron.
You know, I haven't drank dairy like that in years, probably.
You haven't had dairy?
Not like that. I've had like,
What do you mean not like that?
so I've probably had, you know, those little like 18% little things you add to your coffee. Maybe like one of those into a coffee once a month. But I've never poured over like 100 milliliters of milk into a drink.
Why?
I just drink oat milk.
Why?
I'm going to drink that, and then you're going to find out why. It's going to smell worse in here than your washer. And you're not going to be able to leave because you can't break the sound barrier.
I'm not following.
I'm
What?
going to fart. No,
Ah.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to I'm going to gas
Do
this.
it.
I'm going to
Do it,
fucking
bro.
gas this room
Hey,
up.
Yeah,
And
do
you're
it.
not going to be able to break character because you're going to be...
No, dude, this is on air right here. That shit's going on air, bro. But is that really the reason? Like, or what's so? What's the reason?
I get just as bad as gas from anything else.
So then, why don't you do milk?
I just don't think it's that good for us.
I used to believe this.
Yeah.
I did. I used to believe that. I got trapped in this thinking.
Yeah, well, I just...
Or I'm not saying it's a trap, but like I felt. Go on.
You see, yeah, so first of all, I mean, I did get stomach aches from it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stopped drinking it, I felt a little better.
Yeah.
I definitely felt better when I stopped drinking it. That's 100% sure.
Okay.
But I didn't know too much about it. I'm just like, I'm just going to entertain this idea and see where it goes. And it did. And it happened. And I got hooked on oat milk. And now I can't turn back.
Now, see, I don't want to discount like regardless of how you feel about milk. Like I'm not like whether you argue milk is good or bad for you. I want to
cow thing. I also don't.
I want to focus on the because there's a huge difference between wild cow or like cows that are roaming free, you know, not given antibiotics. First, you know, there's outside of that though. This
is good milk.
Yeah, this is good milk, but I stopped buying this. It's so expensive.
It is.
It's like
It's an expensive.
I realized 1 liter I can get for what this is like
$8.99.
$4.99, almost $5, something like this, or for $6
You can get a 4 liter.
I can get 4 liters. Yeah, so
Simple economics.
it was one of the things when I went to part time. I said, okay, I can stop buying expensive milk.
Yeah.
I used to spend, dude, like when I work full time, I had a pretty high salary. Like not crazy high, but first single guy, I didn't watch anything I was doing. And like, dude, I'd spend thousands of dollars on food a month.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars, like maybe 3.
By eating out.
Yeah, eating out, just buying expensive everything, like I didn't care. Like, okay, this month we're gonna spend 3-4 grand on
Because you can.
because I can.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, and it's not even because I can. It's just because like I wasn't monitoring. I wasn't forced to monitor. Like, but it's funny. Like now I work part time, and I'm much more cognizant of what I'm spending stuff on, and it's easier to save and stuff just because I'm not splurging all the time, right?
Yeah.
There was one day, my friend Carla, we just went to a show, like what's that show, like the Cirque du Soleil that they have in
Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, Cirque du Soleil that they have in Chinatown, or and close to the stadium. And it was, so after the show, it was like 8 o'clock at night. It was in the middle of winter. It's freezing, right? It's raining. And we went to like 2 restaurants. And they're like, no, there's no food. And we want to get like a decent meal, you know what I mean? Like, no, like we're closing for the night, or there's no more space. So we went to the Flying Pig, and the same thing. And I look in the restaurant, it's complete, like it's, almost half empty, and then I'm like, can we have a table for 2? No, I'm sorry. Like we've already accepted the last table. And I was, I had drank a little bit, smoked a little pot, and I was tired of being cold.
So you're fuming at this point.
I wasn't fuming, but I was at the point, I'm just tired of being cold. I just look at the girl and I'm like, $100, please give us a table. And she's like, okay, but
just like that, they're able to do it.
Yeah. But like, that's the shit.
You didn't start off at 50?
Dude, no. If you're good, so what's it called? A good rule to bribery.
Tell me the good rules to bribery, please.
Yeah. If you're gonna bribe someone, do it well. Meaning,
make the first offer.
Yeah, like
the one that they're not going to say no to. Yeah.
Exactly. If you lowball them and then you try to go up, like you might have already lost them, right? But if you offer them like $100, my dad actually taught me this. He's like one day in an airport, he sees the huge line to like line up, like, and he's gonna be in line for 2 hours. Yeah. He's like, I don't feel like being in line for 2 hours. He's like, I'd rather go to the restaurant, have a glass of wine, all that kind of stuff, right? So he sees like a Delta worker walk by, security kind of Delta worker walk by, and he hands the guy $100. He's like, where does this buy me in line? And the guy says, I'll show you, sir. Puts it in his pocket, walks him right up to the front in front of everybody else, says, right here, sir. Whoa. Yeah.
That's dope.
That's the
dope. You probably felt like the man.
Yeah.
That's good service.
That's good, sir.
If you go too low the first time, they say no, and then you try to double it, and then they don't say no. So if I say 50 and you go no 100, or wait no, if I say 50 and
I say no,
you say no, and then I go 100, and then you go 120.
Yeah,
I'll be like, fuck off, but now I got to.
Yeah. And then,
because then the girl's gonna look at you and be like.
And then the other thing is, they might already be in a no mindset, like because they told you no for $50. If you raise it to 100, in their head they've already said no, so it's easier for them to say no again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you start with a good offer, you're gonna bribe someone $100.
That's reasonable.
No
argument.
No arguments. Okay. Like it's a no-brainer to think. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I ever bribed anybody. No. There's this dude at TSX that never used to like search me whenever I went on the airplane. That was pretty sweet.
Because you knew him,
yeah.
like
he knew who I was, and then he approached us, and like was like slowly like wanting to be friends with us and stuff. But I was always a little suspicious, and so like I tested it out one time. I made him think that like I was bringing something on the plane with me, but really it was with like my friend. And then so we showed up at like 2 different times, and so I got my friend. He knew my friend's face, and so I got my friend to like look at him, and like we did this eye contact thing where to make him think that like he was supposed, because what he would do is he would still like pat you down and then use like the wand, but not press the button on the wand. And then like let you through. And then the other guy made sure that then the other guy got like just passed through. I'll tell you a funny story about the wand, the security thing.
Yeah.
Is, me and my friends are going into a bar like back in the day. I think it was like 2006 or something like that. And my roommate wanted me to carry a piece with me. And when we went in there,
Gun.
yeah,
Okay. Like
And-
gun.
yeah. And then so we go to the, and this is my first time going into
Yeah.
one, carrying one. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, don't worry, I know the guys. And then so they all went in ahead of me. And then he says to me, he's like, okay, come on in. And then so I go in, and then the security guard just comes right up to me like that. And I'm like, whoa. And then he pulls out his wand, and I'm like, and then he just starts wanding me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is this actually happening? And then I can see my friends behind him, like
Yeah.
watching me and just like with the big, like laughing at me because they just wanted to see my reaction. And the guy does it all, but he's just doing it from the cameras. He just releases the button and then like
Yeah.
wands over like where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just for the cameras and stuff. But yeah, I was tripping out.
Yeah.
This is my first time.
Like I was even thinking like it's easier to sneak stuff in like clubs and stuff, like just put something in your shoe. You know what I mean? Like if you want to get a knife in or something like that, like yeah, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying like if you're committed to doing something,
Yeah,
or like generally they won't touch your like balls or stuff like that, right? Like you could hide.
if you're a stranger there,
Mm-hmm.
it depends. But if they like know you and know
Yeah.
who you are, or like if you grease them and given them money,
Mm.
then you know if you grease the palms of the security, then you know they get put at risk if they're now they become a liability to if anything that you do inside there,
Yeah,
right?
of course,
Because then
of
it comes
course.
down on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't know what it's like out here. I don't really go to clubs out here, but
Yeah.
like back east, it was
Much more intense.
yeah.
I've only been felt like I've only been patted down like once or twice here.
Okay.
I've only been patted down once really good here. Like where they actually are like tucking like everything,
Yeah.
you know? Like I've only been patted down like that once. Like
I hate that. I can't. That's just a trauma thing for me from like prison. Yeah. But like, I just don't like that anymore. I don't like go to clubs anymore. But I just remember the couple times that I did over from like 2012 till 2016 or something like that. Just I remember the feeling, and I was like, I don't need to be doing this.
yeah, no, I don't like going to clubs and things. It's not something I just enjoy.
Yeah.
Like the older I get, the less I'm going to a club this weekend for a friend.
Which club?
Roxy.
Oh, that's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good time.
I've never been there before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have fun.
Yeah. So it's our birthday party, so we're gonna go there. It'll be fun, but I'm like I prefer just going to someone's house, honestly.
Same. It's
Yeah.
safer. It's good time. It's good people.
Yeah, and yeah, going on the patio, like hanging out, like that. It's more relaxing. Like
Yeah.
as you get older, this stuff becomes, I think,
Less relevant, less
yeah,
yeah. I would only go to a place where like I knew like my friend has a bar that he's a part owner of on Granville, which is great. So if
What
I ever
bar?
studio,
I know studio.
it's a great bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been
The
in his,
sign is so cool.
yeah,
So yeah, whenever I wanted to, like in 2017, I think I went there. It was like, I would just call him and say I want to go there with a couple friends, and then when I got there, just gave him my name, and it was just like
yeah.
I could pass in, which is nice.
I have a friend that they knew the owner or something, right? So they just let you in, no cover.
Yeah.
In the VIP section, like that is
But
nice.
when what he told me is that like, yeah, so he's gonna let us into the club and stuff, but
Yeah.
he's like, it's good manners to pay for bottle service while you're up there because
Oh, they like buy a drink.
yeah,
or- yeah.
buy drinks, buy bottles so that the server's up there because they're giving you like good service and you're getting in for free and not having to
Yeah.
wait. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like be a good customer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I found out that bottle service has significantly gone up since like what it used to be. So yeah, I'm glad that I just don't drink like that anymore.
Was it studio? It might have been studio.
It's right next to Cabo.
No, there was a different one. I'm trying to think. I don't remember exactly where I was. It was a different story. Is I tried to sneak Mika in.
No, why? You know they have like 7
Yeah.
times the hearing
Yeah,
sensitivity.
because she'd rather come with me than be at home alone, right? And like,
It's
so they didn't let me in.
No, of
They
course not.
they
Maybe
the
it's
the guy's like, I need you to open your bag, and I'm like, okay. I open my bag and the dog pops out. And he's like, I wasn't expecting that. No. But I've snuck her into a few nightclubs before, not that loud. There's this one in what's it called, Gastown, and it gets pretty loud,
Is
right?
it on Abbott?
Maybe around there, yeah. It's on a bottom floor. They have like a rectangle bar, or like,
Oh, you're talking about
yeah.
the Canby.
It might be the Canby,
They have a
yeah.
patio?
It's all wood, like,
Yeah, and do they have
yeah.
a pool table there too?
maybe
Couple arcades.
yeah, something,
Canby's pretty popular for the
maybe.
very
I
rich.
but I'm able to sneak her in to,
Oh
like,
yeah, no, yeah, anything goes there pretty much.
yeah, most like I always ask my friends, like, on Friday night, okay, like, where are we going? Okay, we're gonna go to a small bar, we're gonna eat on the patio. Okay, I'll bring Mika, like, I could sneak her in,
Mhm.
and so I've had that a couple times, and then like the plans change
Escalate.
after that, and then I'm like, oh, guys, like, I can't go, like, see ya.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
it's a good out sometimes if you don't want the night to go there. You gotta,
Yeah.
I got the dog.
I get the dog.
Gotta take her home. It's past her bedtime.
Yeah, like, it's just not my cup of tea anymore.
Yeah, it's old. There's not much that's gonna happen in a bar that hasn't happened already in my life. That
No, like, it's fun to go out and like have a couple of drinks and just like talk to people, but as you get older, you're like,
yeah,
That's-
I'd rather just go and sit in the lounge of like I'd rather go and sit in the lounge at a hotel
yeah,
lounge because the people that hang
quiet.
out in lounges of hotels aren't usually from here. And the conversations can go somewhere. You get to hear a little bit about their stories, where they're from. what
This is
they're-
a smart thing.
yeah. This is where how I spend my Fridays. Sadly, that's not how it's going. But
And Andrew's like, I'm in the Sandman Hotel.
yeah. But yeah, interesting people hang out there, and they're usually interested in knowing about like the fun things to do in Vancouver,
And
which I'm obviously an expert at.
that list is like 10, right?
What?
Of things.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. If that.
It's a great place. If you love the outdoors, that's a good thing about Vancouver.
Yeah.
Like, if you like skiing and hiking and swimming.
Yeah. Everybody's profile is hiking,
Yeah.
snowboarding, skiing.
I do love Vancouver for that reason. Like, it's got me more athletic.
Well, look at where we are today. We're March 1st, and there's a bunch of snow on the mountain this morning.
Yeah.
So like, and look at the sun now. So people could be paddleboarding in the ocean right now
The sun came
while
out.
skiing this morning.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, we're lucky to be here.
So,
Where were we?
back to, you were talking about moving on at Karma Teachers, and I think where you left off was, you were going through some problems, right? Like you were let go of the director,
Yeah.
and then you went to this place to learn.
Yeah. After having to step down as the ED, so many of my shadows like that just dour like deep in me started to like surface pretty quickly, and I remember just going into I didn't let the practice of like surrender escape me in that. Yeah, I followed through with it because I didn't disagree with the fact that people say that I needed to learn more. I needed sensitivity training. I needed to learn how to be a better leader. I needed to learn how to run an organization better. I needed to learn about power dynamics. I needed to learn about my role as like a male in that position and what that impact is like. And in the moment, I'm like, my defense was like, everything I do is the best of intentions. Like I'm always doing everything with like the good intentions. And what somebody really taught me was that like, Andrew, they said it to me really seriously. They're like, Andrew, the good intentions are no one's really denying that. But one thing that I don't pay attention to at that time was the impact on people, right? So some of the best intentions, how you follow through on them, they might be good most of the time, but it's not always going to be that case for everybody. And there's certain responsibilities in that position that I definitely overlooked or was underprepared for, right? So yeah, defense mode for quite some time. And during that time, yeah, there's a lot of things fell apart. A lot of people were like hurt just based on like how the community just kind of fell apart. And that was kind of the time where I needed to take some time for myself. Like, and that place on Bowen Island where I was volunteering was a good place for me at the time. But that wasn't the end of it. Like when we moved into like 2021, a good part of the community started to wanted to just turn into their own brand and branch off, and that was great. Like they did that. And then I remember early January 2021, I was invited to stay at the program that we were developing at the place on Bowen Island, the New Earth Institute. They were making this like development program, and they invited me to like stay and take it. But I knew that I didn't think it was going to be a good fit for me. It sounded like a good program, but not at that time. There was another crossroad for me. I'm like, I can stay and take this program, or I can make sure that Karma Teachers doesn't like fail, because the community that branched off to do their own thing, they had a whole team of people. There was a large community, and at that point, no one else was really on the side of Karma Teachers, because just of all the discord and like the poison in the pond, it was very confusing for a lot of people, especially in the middle of a pandemic, right? So yeah, I had to make a decision about like, okay, am I gonna let this like fall? Am I gonna be on the hook for why this organization just kind of crumbled and lost? And we also had a loan at the time as well too, that we still have to be paying back. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to be like that leader yet, but yeah, there's a couple people that were still willing to work with me, like uncanceled. I don't think people get like uncanceled. I think you just find more people that are willing to work with you, because anybody who still doesn't like you now will always try to just like shut you down and cancel you.
100%.
And with all the lovely memes and GIFs that were going around at the time, one of the ones that really stood out for me was we need to be counseled, not canceled, right? And so Shahar was a pretty cool individual to be talking to, because as a volunteer, in that position, I would say things and like give my input, and then he would respond. And what he said to me was like, ouch. Like there's some things that he would say and I would just take it so harshly. And I would kind of say something back to him, and then he'd like look at me and be like, oh, did you take that personally? And I was like, fuck, I'm like, is that what that feels like when I've felt like if I've said something to someone in the past and I've never meant it personally, but like they've taken it that way? I'm like, oh, that's how I've made some people feel in the past. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to see the other side of this, like I'm starting to see the other side of this position, and that I'm starting to, the more the remorse is starting to actually build up in me, right? So yeah, throughout 2021, there are more and more people that are starting to come together and help out and see that there was potential with the organization still. And so, we got a grant from Canada Summer Jobs to employ a couple people. We were still able to put on some outdoor yoga. There's some people still interested in teaching, right? So yeah, we continue to do these things, but like still that whole year of like 2021, there's still just always these conversations and whispers and always something like trying to like undermine me or like pull me back down. And not just by people, but even just things I would create in my head because I was told in 2020 that there was like a number of grievances that were like written against me. And, you know, to protect the identities of the people that wrote them, I was never shown them exactly the details or who they came from, right? And so I'm told that I've been told that I've done something that hurt people, and I was never told exactly what. I was just told like what they witnessed or what they heard or how like I've hurt them, but I was never told who or exactly what. And so and that kind of like put me in like a little bit of a darker place because I started to really, I'm like in this, it's like being sent to your room and not being told like what you did wrong. I was told like, yeah, a lot of things, but there were still some things that like, okay, well, I want to be fixing some things, but if I'm not told by who and exactly what it is, how am I supposed to fix it? And then I get told as well that, well, you know, some people don't have the ability to, or don't have like the power to speak up against what I was being called an abuser at the time, right? I thought like I was flexing like my power on people or something like that. And they're saying some people don't have that ability to speak up and call you out on that. What do you say to that?
I have mixed feelings on this.
At the time, I did too.
Like, I definitely feel they have to they have to tell you what's up. Like, it would be like me being like, Andrew, like there's some things that you've done, and like we can't have you employed here anymore. I can't tell you what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it like maybe the individual himself can't tell you, right?
That's what they're kind of pointing to.
Yeah, but they can tell you what the individual said. You know what I mean? Like,
not if that person doesn't want me to know who they are out of like protection of their identity or something like that. But like, what are they?
No, it's a complaint. Like if you're gonna make a complaint, you know, like it's like, so in the U.S.,
mm-hmm.
one thing I love about that's in the Constitution is that you have a right to face your accusers.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's in the Constitution. You have a right of a jury of your peers,
mm-hmm.
and if you're accused of a crime, you have a right to face the accuser in court. So like you're it's illegal to be accused and not know who they are or what their accusation is.
Interesting. But that's in the court.
That's in the court. And I would assume in the corporate side of things, it's very similar, right? Mm-hmm. But I just think from it's a pretty good philosophy. Like it might be uncomfortable, right? Like, and certainly you get in like weird situations, like it might be very uncomfortable for a sexual abused victim to
mm-hmm. have
to go in court and face her, yeah. But at the same time, like you're trying to protect rights, you know, and it's a very tricky situation. But I definitely think if you have a potential to ruin someone's career or to remove them from a group or something, like they have to know. You know what I mean? You can get in very weird situations. Like you start making up like someone doesn't like Andrew. Like Andrew, like we don't. We've had some complaints. We can't tell you what they are. You know, that's concealed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's.
They touched on some of the things for sure. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of it was, and you know, these are people's real experiences, or really what they share and what they witness and what the lens that they're looking through, right? And what was real for them. And I'm not going to be the person that says that. Yeah. You know, it's not. You know, of course, 4 years ago, I felt defensive of a lot of things, right? But you know, like I made this post on my Instagram this morning about like a 4-year journey from like healing and having to go into like dark places like that, needing the reflection, needing the hours of therapy to like kind of go inward and find a way out is really what's, because I can't help, like, whatever it is that has like hurt somebody or anything. I can't, if the reconciliation isn't going to be happening, which is what I was promised, then I can't force reconciliation. But then I do have to start looking towards being able to fix myself rather than looking for that externally with somebody else. You know what I mean? And I think I spent a lot of time expecting like being able to fix things with certain people, but you can't make somebody fix something with you, and you can't make somebody like you. You know, it sucks because there are some people that I worked with that I really enjoyed, and it's tough that, you know, we haven't spoken since, and
they have negative feelings towards you.
I don't know.
You don't, yeah, but
there's something.
Having that idea, yeah, like it's a very like to be accused of something. It's a very like it affects you a lot. Yeah, like particularly if you but believe truthfully, or maybe you're incorrect in your belief, but like if you believe that you're innocent of whatever you're accused of, whether that's true or not, it has an effect on you emotionally, mentally, right? Like all of a sudden, like seeing people like, you know, like you can't see anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a lot of different people involved, and a lot of people had different roles and took part in different things, and I can't, I mean, I just spent too much mental energy trying to like speculate and assume, and it just got it made me just so sick after too long that like, hey, you know what? The only thing I can really start working on is like my own story, like the, you know, and then talking about it is really part of like my own journey. Like I can't talk about anybody else's, right? I can only take accountability for my own things, and there's no justification for things like that.
And I do think once you take accountability of something and you go on this path of self-improvement, right? I've tried to have reconciliation. I've identified, okay, there is this problem, right? And you move on, right? You can't do anything more than that. I disagree that loathing about something for a long time, that's not necessarily good for you.
It wasn't. You know? I mean, when I would see their like stories pop up or like posts and stuff like that, and I don't know why I don't just unfollow, but sometimes when I would see them, I would notice the like energy that it stirred up in me, and I was just like, I got to do something about this. I can't keep relying on like relying and waiting on being able to reconcile with somebody.
You have to move on.
And I noticed that once I switched that's when I noticed just randomly more and more people just out of the woodwork from the past I would like be like randomly bumping into, or just getting like messages from, or hearing from, that, you know, there was a lot of people that really just moved on and just went down their own path. There's a lot of people that moved on and have said like, hey, like we don't need to talk about that. But you know, I know there's still like people that are hurt and stuff, and don't trust me or don't believe me and stuff. But like, you know, I'm always welcoming feedback, and I've always kept that door open, and have never hid from it. I mean, I'm not somebody to turn myself away from justice. The first time I did it was when I was like 24 years old, and I walked into a building not knowing when I was ever coming out. And so why would that be something that is foreign to me now?
And you know, something a lot of religions talk about, right, is forgiveness and just moving on, right? Like, and of course there's a difference between ongoing abuse or like it's abuse, ongoing behavior that offends you, right? Like that's different than someone in the past who's hurt you, and then they have to forgive you. Like like at least like in the church I grew up, right? Like we spoke a lot about that, right? Is like forgiving someone is the final like healing, right? Like you have to do that, and like it might be painful for you if you're the one who's done something wrong, right? If you can ask for forgiveness, but you can't demand that they give it to you, and they may not give it to you, but that you've asked for it is enough, and then you have to move on. And same for the person who does the forgiveness, right? But that the forgiveness is the final healing and the final moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, and forgiveness is, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the first person that that was hurt by me, like I wasn't the first person that they've been hurt by. Like they've had wounds before from people in the past, and so I don't think this is anything new to them. And it was something that was new for me. And even though we were continuing to work together, what I thought was still in like a positive way, just based on like how we managed the situation, I didn't know that the next 2 years that there was something like, you know, how do I say? I didn't know that there was still something else in the back of their mind that they didn't like about me or that they were angry about. And yeah, but that's not on them, like to keep that. They can bring that out whenever they want, however they want, whenever they're ready. And I mean, yeah, eventually they did, but like I was still a part of like how that came out. And yeah, I just think some of the actions that that I did weren't the best way. I felt it's strange because like I did this like getaway for myself, and like it was my first like vacation, and I got a lot of clarity, and I was like, yeah, I'm firm in this decision, and like it came from like a place of actually being distanced from this day-to-day life where I'm constantly being triggered. And then when I got back, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to stick with my decision, but I'm not just going to go and like pull the trigger. Let's talk to a couple people that have more experience and are experts in the field. So I talked to like 2 people, and, you know, they said that like, hey, if this is the case, then yeah, like do what you have to do. But I probably didn't share enough context with them for the advice that they gave me. So yeah, I don't know. Since then though, I mean, the reason why yesterday was like just so significant to me was because like, yeah, 4 years ago was the day that like the canceling just started and everything just started to crumble. And it's 4 years just feels like such a long time. I felt bad for like my friends having to listen to like me just being miserable and like the dark places that I went to. I felt like it was Groundhog Day sometimes. And since July of last year, I don't know what happened. I mean, like I've done a handful of trainings since then. So I did this like yoga and life coaching course in 2021. And that taught me to actually, coaching aside, like that was all fine, but it just taught me to just be a better listener. And that was a huge piece of something that I might not have been the best at before. And then taking the trauma responsive training with Rituals for Recovery was the final piece to that, which helped me like also start to reinforce a lot of stuff that like I felt like I knew, but helped me kind of bring it in and make it like actionable and being able to embody it more rather than it just be something that's expressed like intellectually, which was something I used to do a lot of. Yeah.
And I think it's important for folks to recognize we all have done shit. We've all made mistakes, right? Like some of us more than others, but for like I guarantee you every person on earth, right? They have things that they're hiding, right? Or most people have things that they've done that they're hiding that they'd be horrified if people knew they did.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe some of them are really, really terrible, and maybe some of them are just things they've said or things they've done, but they'd be horrified, right? And to cancel or to say like this person's removed from society, right? That's not good. How else are you going to get better or change? Like you know what I mean? Like we all make mistakes, and for the accusers who pretend like you're so bad we're gonna kick you out, like, well, they've done shit too.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah. You know my point. Like it's I'm very much a person. I try to see the sides in everything, right? And I recognize things that people do bad and good, and things I do bad, and things I do good, and you know, it's never one formula, right? Or like one solution or one fix. Everyone has a different perspective, and it's just trying to move on.
Yeah, and that's what I've had to do. Like at that point back then, like I felt like I knew what was best for someone, and that they should do this in order for that to happen, for there to be like longevity in like a role in the organization. But the correct way to do it is through inquiry, right? And in asking and really not just assuming that my way is the right way, because that's not always the case.
My way or the highway.
My way or the highway. But with a lot of like the like support that I've gotten from like people that have been helping, like mentors and coaches, and super grateful for the teachers that have still been willing to like work with me over the past 2 years, 3 years, and continue keeping the trainings going. Otherwise, you know, we survived a pandemic and we were able to continue growing, and it's taken so much time to find out what's working, what doesn't work, and where we're going. And I'm stoked to see like where we're going to be over the next 5 years or the next 4 years. See what goes on today in the next 4 years. See where we're at. But yeah, it's freed up time to help other people kind of come in and show their strengths, and helped me move on to help other people with other things. Like there's a lot of people who've got like textbook educations on some of the things that they don't teach in school about these particular situations we're talking about, of how to navigate through them, but you never really know until it happens.
Yes.
So I like working with some of those people now, just as clients.
There's a guy I had on my podcast. I'm not sure if you listened to him, Alex. Did you listen to the Alex
The
podcast? Yeah. That was something that, you know, we talked about there. You kind of mentioned it here, which is that we're never really given the skills, emotional skills. We're not taught in school to.
That was in the first podcast, yeah.
Yeah, to what's it called? To when you have things that happen, right? We're not given the skills to be strong and have a strong mental and a strong emotional foundation that you can just move on, right? We're not taught, like we're almost in today's world taught to be weak, right? Where we should be taught to be strong and like when things happen, to figure out a way mentally to not be affected, you know, to be strong enough that you can get through the situation and not break down.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on people's algorithms, what they're subscribing to, what they're keeping around, and what's closest to them, and how they're nurturing themselves so that they can be that person who shows up ready to have that emotional resilience and that mental resilience to make it through, right? But it's always going to be situational. So there's going to be different circumstances, and yeah, school only teaches us up to a certain point.
No, to give someone a foundational skills, right? Like in this situation, right? If someone says something not nice, how do you respond? Right?
Yeah. How many hypotheticals can you put into a test and say, how do you respond with A, B, or C?
Yes.
Or D, none of the above.
But I think it's more about like teaching kids about self-regulation. Right?
Oh God.
You see what I mean? Like if I come and I attack you like verbally or whatever, right? Like if you have a good self-regulation background,
Mm-hmm.
you can not be so affected by that.
Yeah. 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 You could have that thick skin where somebody comes at you, verbally attacks you. I mean, ideally, yeah, if you can stand there and just be like, thank you.
Yeah, like, I disagree with what you're saying, but have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah. I strongly disagree with what you're trying to point to here, but that's okay.
That's okay. You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
or what's the opposite of that? Being like, what did you just say about me?
yeah, right.
What the fuck did you say about me?
Escalate. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it escalates. They're trying to tear you down, and then it's how we, react versus respond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Do you ever have to deal with any of that in your line of work?
My line of work. In software, rarely. No. Like, no. Like, I've never been in a situation in my jobs where I've had to deal with stuff like this. No. Like,
I hope you don't.
I will
I'll
say,
clean this up after.
No, it's fine. I'll say one thing. I lost my temper once when I was at work. It was with a guy. And I learned from this experience, right? And I actually apologized. So, he was a pretty lazy worker, right? And he would never answer questions directly or I went to his cube with my laptop, and this is after like several emails, several conversations, and I was like, hey man, like, I just need to know how to call your API. So like, just tell me exactly what I have to type in here to get the thing to work. And then like, then he goes on like this spiel or whatever, and I get so angry. I take my laptop, I put it on his lap. I slam on his lap, put it in front of him, turn it to him. I said, just type in here what I have to do to call your API.
For those of you who don't know what an API is, it's an access point integration. Right?
Yeah, something like this. Yeah. What do we call it? Access point integration? Yeah, like
application program integration.
Something like this. Yeah. I don't know the exact terminology. Like I lose the acronyms, right? But like, if like, it would be the equivalent of me being like, what's the website address and the admin and password?
Yeah.
You know, like that's it, in summary what I was asking, right? And I lost my temper, and I put it on his lap. I said, just tell me the and making me nervous. Just tell me the API. And then he didn't do it at that time. He got a little upset, and then I got upset, and I just walked away. And then like, I thought about it, and I came to him later that day, and the next morning I was like, hey man, like, I'm sorry I lost my temper, but like, can we resolve this? And then actually then he was able to, like, we were able to move forward. Like, so one thing, I think my aggressiveness, it kind of shook him a little bit, like
you meant business.
He knew I meant business, right? So the next time I did come and apologize, and he was much more friendly. But like, I haven't done that since, but go on.
That's such a guy thing to do too. Like, it's like guys can, like, they'll always flex on each other until like one person's just like, okay, I get what you're saying.
I get what I'm saying.
And then often enough, like, if two bros can come together after that, then like the bond is stronger.
Yeah.
We know each other's limits, and we know to navigate our relationship within those boundaries.
Yes. Like, I think he recognized that's the edge,
Yeah, like I can only lose at Flip Cup too many times. You got to win a few times.
Exactly.
And I'm only using that reference because I saw the amount of red cups you got in the cover.
I have lots of red cups like that. That was a party. I'm like, I'll keep them.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, you please Flip Cup. Challenging buddies.
Yeah, man. Like, I was like, so I can tell you, once at work, I saw a fist fight. That was interesting.
Indoors or outdoors?
Indoors.
Damn.
Like, the manager got so angry, like because so like I start to see the people, they start to argue, and so I get them like, hey guys, it's and then I could tell like me being in the middle was just not good. So like then I just left, right? And then it escalated and like I think some punches went, and then the manager came in and like just like went crazy, like
Dude.
they still had jobs after, but they had to go through some, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's tough getting in the middle of things, man. You know what? It's tough getting in the middle of things when you feel like you have to stick up for someone. And
I wasn't even trying to stick up.
oh, you're just trying to like
I was just trying to be like, hey guys, let's not lose our cool.
Yeah.
Let's go our separate ways.
Oh, okay.
Go on though.
I remember back in 2006 when I was at this bar in Winnipeg, and my girlfriend at the time, we liked to drink back then.
Yeah.
Okay. But we were also hanging out with all like my buddies, and we don't, when me and my girlfriend at the bar, we're not like clung to each other. We just go off and do our own thing. And then there was this dude comes up to me, and he's a friend of my roommate's, and he's like, man, your girlfriend's just like off her rocker. She's like just taking shots that are mine. Like I bought a bunch of shots and put them out, and like they're like for all my friends, but like she's been grabbing them and taking them. And then she'd spoken to me just before that and said like, hey, this guy's being a dick. Like he keeps thinking I'm taking his shots and stuff, but he's like put them out there for everybody. And then I'm in this position where I'm just like,
who to believe?
I'm like, I gotta stick up for my girlfriend, right? And I'm hammered at this point, right? And so I remember going up to him, and he's like a 6'4" black guy, probably at least 250 pounds, friends with my roommate. Like we've hung out together.
Yeah.
And I just start beefing with him. I just start running my beak at him, right? And
not maybe the best decision.
No, and I had a drink in my hand, and like I took the first swing too, but I had to like jump up to like try hitting him, and I don't even think I hit his head. I think it like missed and like hit someone else, and then next thing I know, I'm just getting pummeled by like him and two of his buddies. And then I remember the bouncer. I remember like the bouncer like who had to lift me out of there and carry me outside, and I'm like kicking and screaming to like let me go. And I call a cab to get out of there, and so I call a cab and I leave, and then my girlfriend calls me. She's like, "Yo, come back here."
You're like, "Dude, I can't."
And I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Just come back here." I went and I told a friend of mine, and my roommate, and then so I come back and I go into the parking lot next to it, and I'm looking over at like the patio next to the bar, and I see my roommate and him walking down the side of the street, and then this guy just ends up like dicing him and just punching him, and then I got angry because when I saw them walking together, I'm like, oh, they're friends now, like what the hell? And I ran up and I started trying to like throw punches and kicks that weren't landing. But next thing I know is that like the guy who like attacked me, he ended up in the hospital with like 34 staples because he got cut open from like his head, his stomach, his arms. Because the guy that like ended up beating him up afterwards had like, you know those things you use to like skin deer?
A knife?
No, not a knife, man. So it's like, it's something that you like hold like this.
Yeah.
And then it comes out here and it's like this super like.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Yeah.
And so that, so I knew
I've never been in those situations.
Yeah. So like after that, I really knew that I felt bad that guy didn't need to be flexing on me. He's like 3 times my size. But at the same time, I'm also causing shit. But at the same time, I had no idea that somebody's going to go and dice him like that. So now I just know to just not get involved. But it's nice to feel protected too.
If there's a good thing about not getting like de-escalation, it's probably the one of the best things you can, like if you can avoid a fight, that's a win.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I don't think I'm a fighter at all.
Yeah.
But in the life that like I used to live, like being a small guy, people like to stick up for whenever anybody gets bullied. Like
and even submit them. Like that's that's one of the cool things is like you can be in a position where you have the advantage, right? There's like a couple of positions of jiu-jitsu like where you like if I have my legs around you and you're attacking me from the top, I have the advantage. But if you're skilled, you can get out of that position into a position where you have the advantage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, like it's a cool sport.
Takes me back to my teenage days of wrestling.
You used to wrestle? I never wrestled.
Well, I mean, not as a sport. I mean, me and my buddies at the time, we would play NWO versus WCW on 64, and then when the Royal Rumbles were getting pretty heated and shit talking started, sticks were down. We're like, all right, let's take it to the basement. we would line up the room with like couch cushions and pillow cushions and just go to town on each other.
Yes.
It was intense, traumatizing a bit for me. I told you I wouldn't want to get into jiu-jitsu again or any kind of wrestling. It's just a trigger. I never tapped out unless they blacked me out.
Wow. Yeah.
So I just don't know.
I learned that this week. I was in a choke and some guy's just really pressing hard and I'm like, no, like it's okay, like you know, like I'll breathe through it, you know. And then after I stand up, I'm like, like I can't breathe, you know, so I got to tap. Anyway, my friend, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Yeah,
Glad we were able to like get from the beginning all the way to the end and up to date. And we'll see what happens next.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you, folks. Bye-bye.
Later.
Peace. February 29th comes once every 4 years.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.